If you want to know if you're making progress on the so-called spiritual path, see if you're kinder to people. See if you're a little easier on yourself. See if you obsess about your own self and all the stuff that in your life a little bit less. See if you're happier during the day, in a simple way, more content. And see if you're treating people more like you would like to be treated. That means it's working. I did some meditation here and there and some yoga that I learned from a book. And but really the thing that made all the difference was when Ram Dass came back from India after his first visit. He had met Neem Karoli Baba, and it had changed his life. I met him through some friends. And when I walked into the room with him, I just immediately, I knew that whatever it was I was looking for, it was real. I didn't know any more than that at the time, but I just knew it was real, that it existed in the world, that this dream, this feeling that I had was real. It wasn't just in books. That was a big thing. We traveled around for about a year around the States. He gave a retreat up at the Lama Foundation in the winter up in the mountains in New Mexico. For a month or two we stayed up there, and then a couple other things around. And eventually I leaned on him hard enough that he pretty much told me how to find Maharaji. Because I knew I had to go to India. He gave us the name of a devotee that he had been close with, up in the hills. So I wrote a letter to him, and he wrote me back. Wow, a letter from India, So he wrote me back, and he said that he had got the letter, but that Maharaji wasn't in the hills at that time. But when he came back, he would write to me again. So about a month later, I guess I got a letter, and the letter I wrote was saying I wanted to come and see Maharaji. So about a month later, I got a letter saying that Maharaji had returned to the hills, and after a week or so, he was able to go see him, and he was able to go see him. Then he said, as you know, Maharaji doesn't encourage the devotees to come to him, but his doors are always open. So if you're traveling in India, you're welcome to come and see him. So I said, great, we're going, right? Just boom, right? So a couple of years later it was when I had gotten very close with this guy and his family and everything. He was telling me, oh, I never told you what really happened that day, I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I went to the temple, and by now somebody else had written a letter, so there were three letters. And I put the letters on Maharaji's bed right next to him. And then I sat in front of him and began to peel an apple and cut it up and feed it to him. So he only had like 3 teeth, so people used to cut apples, and he would. So I was peeling the apple, and I was feeding him the apple, and he was talking to the other people in the room. And then after a little while he sees these letters and he says to me, what's that? And I explained to him that they were letters from these boys from America who wanted to come see him. Mate, tell them not to come. What do I have to do with this? So the thing is, you see, here's the beauty of the whole drama. This guy KK had grown up with Maharaji from the time he's 8 years old. He'd been sitting in his lap since he's 8 years old. So his relationship with Maharaji wasn't of like guru disciple, you know. It was like grandfather, your favorite grandfather, you know. And you was like, and he was like a spoiled brat with Maharaji. So he wasn't at all put off by this. It was when Maharaji said, "Tell him not to come," he started to pout, and he looked down like this, and he wouldn't feed Maharaji the apple. He stopped feeding him, and he just looked down like this, and Maharaji would look at him, and he'd push his head up like this, but KK wouldn't look at him. He would go look like this, you know. And then when he took his hand away, he'd look down again, you know. Maharaji would push his hand up. KK would not look at him. Finally, Maharaji threw his hands up in the air and said, "All right, tell him what you want."
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare.
My whole life hanging on a thread. I mean, if I hadn't gone there to India, I'd be dead. I mean, that's the way my life was going. My whole life hanging on a thread. All right, tell him what you want. Now, the beauty of it is that KK wouldn't lie. Right? He's a very sincere person. He wouldn't lie to me to make me feel good or to get me to come. But the way he phrased it, as you know, Maharaji doesn't encourage the devotees to come. But his doors are always open. It looked different later. He was incredible. I mean, first thing, I put my apples on the cot that he sat on. First thing he did was threw them to the other people in the room. I went, shit, he didn't accept my apples. He doesn't like my apples. Right? And immediately he looked over and said, "What did I do? Did I do right? What did I do?" I said, "I don't know. What did I do? Did I do right? Did I do right?" So I gave him some bullshit answer, right? Starting off, I think, perfectly on the wrong foot. I said, "Anything you do is right." And he looked like he bit a pickle. Ah, you know. He said, "Did I do right?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "When you have God, you don't need anything. The apples come, the apples go." He didn't hang on to anything. He didn't keep anything for himself. He passed everything through to the people around him all the time. Anybody there. So he said, "When you have God, you don't need anything." I was like, "Huh?" And then he looked at me and said, "When you have God, you have no desire." Oh. You know, I'm still working on that. The second teaching I expect to get any time now. You know. A real guru is not outside of you. The real guru is like an inner sun that shines within you and burns away your bullshit, you know, from the inside out, so that eventually that light can just shine out, your own light. Really, the guru knows that he is the same, he or she is the same as you. You know, there's one of us in the whole universe. The guru knows that, and that love that they awaken in us is who we really are. I was really bottled up inside, you know. I'd been doing music. I used to sing blues, and I had been in a band and stuff like that. But really, emotionally, I was all bottled up. And when I got to India, I saw the way these people sang, and you could feel it from a mile away. You know, it was just, they were just letting it out. They were pouring it out. It was extraordinary. And that was it. You know, I heard it once, and that was it. I just knew I had to sing. I don't sing to the so-called Hindu gods and goddesses. You know, that's not what's in my head. Those are the names for sure, because these chants come from India, but I'm singing to love. You know? I want to be in that presence, in the presence of that love, and chanting moves me into that space, you know, and widens my heart. You know, we had been singing, you know, because he liked it, so we sang, and we could spend time with him that way. But he had hired for the whole season, the spring, summer, and fall. They brought up these kirtan guys from Vrindavan, and they would sing Hare Krishna around the clock. And then towards the end of the season, one of them kind of tried to seduce one of the Western women. And Maharaji found out about it, and in about 10 seconds, all 20 of these guys with all their stuff were loaded on the back of a truck, driven back down to the train, you know, back home, you know. So one of the Indian folks in the temple says to Maharaji, "We just kicked the kirtan guys out. Who's going to sing now?" The Westerners. "No, we don't want to sing. We want to hang out with you," you know? Because you had to sing in this little room around the corner, and if he came out, which we didn't spend that much time with him during the day, but if he came out and it was your shift, you were screwed. So it wasn't fun, you know. But we had to sing. We were asked to sing, and of course, we sang. And it was really, it was really the first time I got a little glimpse of of how chanting is a meditation and how it works. I'd be sitting there singing. We had to sing a couple of hours at a time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And I was bored out of my mind, you know? Really bored. I mean, nothing, just horrible. Like nails on a blackboard kind of bored, you know? And you have to keep singing. So you're bored and you're singing, you're bored and you're singing. So the mind starts to grab at anything, you know? I remembered my old girlfriend back in the States, you know, before I left for India. I got real happy. You know? Hare Krishna, you know? Everything, you know, yeah, Hare Krishna. Then, like, in mid-Krishna, I remember she broke up with me, you know? And then it was like, Hare, you know, it's like, but then that would pass and something else would come and then that would pass, and all the time the chant is going. And gradually that stuff starts to kind of, the hold that stuff has on you know, the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings that we immediately believe everything about the minute, you know, yes, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, you know. It didn't grab me the same way. And the chant was getting deeper and smoother and richer and sweeter. And I didn't want to leave the chant to go into those thoughts. I just, you know, it just was, I got a taste of very first taste of how beautiful it is, you know, and how it works. And the more we do that, the more we learn how to let go of the stuff that causes us suffering, you know, that hurts us. Negative thoughts, unhappy thoughts, depression, all that stuff that we cling to. We don't want it, but we don't know how to get rid of it. You push it away and it sticks to you, you know? But with these practices, you learn how to sit deeper in your own being. And you sit more deeply than these feelings and thoughts. So you're able to learn to let go of them. You don't learn, but you're able to, you find a way. Because you're getting nourished in a different way.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
You can't have secrets. It doesn't work. You can't have places that you don't want to look at. You can't hide your shame and your fear and your guilt and your anger. Where are you going to hide it? It's with you wherever you go. And if you don't look at it, that shadow covers you and keeps you in darkness. Even though you might feel you're not. If you're honest with yourself, you'd have to say, well, there's stuff I'm not dealing with. And if you want your heart to be available, which is what we want our hearts to be, for people, for relationships, and for our own self, it may have to be available. It's my path. My path isn't chanting. My path is trying to be in that presence all the time. Right now, as much as when I'm sitting in front of people singing. It's always the same. I want to be in it. I can't stand being out of it. It's very obvious to me when I'm out of it, and then I have to find out why I'm out of it and get back in it.